Hi guys, it's Joy, and I have been promising this video all month, but I have been very drained, and I found out why this week, so I want to go ahead and tell you guys the story. This is all about my health, so if you're not wanting to hear in depth about feminine health issues, feel free to not watch this video. I have got 10 out of my 31 videos made for next month, and I got a few more ideas in mind that I'm going to try to get videoed this week. If you aren't interested in knowing what's going on with my health, go ahead and click out. So, back in May, I started my period like normal, but yet it wasn't normal. My period started I think it was about the Monday or Tuesday after Mother's Day, and I was spotting. Well, the first couple days that's not concerning, but when it goes a whole week a spot, and then the next week you have a light flow, so light that it almost looks like sweat rather than blood in your pad, but you're wiping blood, that's concerning. But when week 3 begins, a heavy flow like your normal second and third day would be, that's really concerning. And when that continues to get heavier and heavier as you go along, you call your doctor. And so I called my doctor on the week 3 saying, hey, I'm bleeding. I've been bleeding for 3 weeks. Should I be concerned? They're like, you're probably starting into perimenopause. I wouldn't worry until next week. So the next week, I go into the store on Monday with my mom, and we were shopping, and I just suddenly I was talking to a friend, and I suddenly got, like, overheated, and, like, I felt drenched in sweat and cold at the same time, and I knew something wasn't right, and I was bleeding pretty heavy. I was passing pretty big clots at that point. I get home, and I'm like, okay, tomorrow I'll call the doctor's office if this is still going on, because my doctor isn't in on Mondays anyway. So, fast forward to Tuesday. All night long I've been up off and on all night, going to the bathroom every couple hours and dropping clots. Didn't feel right. So I get up that morning and I'm crossing my legs, running to the bathroom. I have my cell phone in hand, and the minute I sit down on the toilet, I call the doctor's office because I knew something wasn't right. They get me in for the next morning. I go to the doctor the next morning, and she ends up putting me on a pill. It wasn't my doctor, it was another doctor because my doctor was on vacation. She put me on this pill for 5 days and gave me a refill in case that didn't stop it. The pill did stop it, but it took 6 days before I totally stopped. And then I had an appointment on July 3rd. So this is about the 17th is when I stopped of June. So I was bleeding for over a month by the time it stopped. Then on July 3rd would be my appointment with my doctor. And I go in and see my doctor. And I haven't had periods since then. Everything's fine. But I kept feeling like I was going to start again. She decided she wants to do an internal ultrasound or a vaginal ultrasound. And she needed to check my iron levels, because they had checked it and they were low, and I was supposed to do iron pills. But every time I do iron pills, I get sick on them. So I didn't want to do iron pills. So I wouldn't. And so they checked my iron level. They decided they need to do iron infusions, so I have to do 5 weeks of iron infusions at that point. So they scheduled that. My internal or vaginal ultrasound got scheduled for July 24th, I think it was. 24th, 25th, whatever that Wednesday was. And then that Friday started my iron infusions. So I would have 5 iron infusions every Friday for 5 weeks. I had to go. The vaginal ultrasound showed nothing wrong. They didn't see anything that should cause this problem. And so I was, they got me in with a gyno. They sent request to the gynecologist, and they sent me a thing saying that my appointment would be December 13th. We aren't to December 13th, and I have seen the gynecologist, so I will explain that in a minute. So anyway, I go in for my regular checkup, and I have started bleeding. I have been spotting after each one of my iron infusions, but on my last iron infusion, which was August 23rd, I bled, and I started bleeding like a normal period. I thought, okay, great, I'm going to have a normal period, everything's going to be fine. And it was like 2 weeks later, I think, was my appointment, my general doctor appointment, and I'm still bleeding. And I kind of casually mentioned it in my appointment. She says, yeah, that could happen, and I wouldn't worry yet. Another week goes by, and on that Thursday, I start feeling like crap. So I call them, And they said, yeah, take the pills that you took last time. You know, I said, well, I still have the dose on hand. I don't need another dose. So they said, okay, take that. So I did. And it stopped it for like a day and a half. So technically, I wouldn't call that a stopped period, because I think I seen some spotting during that day and a half. And then I started back up. And I'm like, okay, at this point, they called and gotten the gynecologist appointment moved up to September 23rd. When I went in and when they called and got that moved up. So I was going to see a different gynecologist than I was originally supposed to see. I'm going to say this. I don't know about the other gynecologist, but I do know I have a great gynecologist. So I ended up, okay, I can handle this. That's like Monday. I'll be fine. But this time, it's been 1 month that I've been bleeding. And I had stopped for like a day and a half, but then it was started up again. And so I was supposed to be the gyno on Monday. And like I start back up Sunday. I'm like, okay, I go in tomorrow. Well, that morning we wake up, Mom's not feeling well, and I'm like, I can't drag Mom to the appointment. No, I'll call and cancel. So then they couldn't get me until October 8th. And so I start bleeding, and it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And so the Thursday before my appointment, I call my general doctor again, and I'm like, I am bleeding really heavy. I need to see the doctor. Because I kind of played phone tag with the gynecologist's office and my doctor's office, and it was decided my doctor's office would be the ones that could do something for me at this point until I seen the gynecologist, because they couldn't get me in any earlier. And so anyway, I go see my doctor on Friday. She re-prescribes the medication again. I take that for 5 days. I'm almost done. The last day of my pill would be the day that I go in to see the gynecologist. That night I would take the last pill, so I should stop if it was like the last time. But they did a pelvic exam at my gynecologist appointment, and that night I started bleeding. A little heavier than I should have been, having taken this pill. And by Thursday, I was passing clots hard again. Well, we went down to do laundry, and it was that afternoon. I was still feeling okay, so we went down to do laundry at our laundromat, because we're having some problems with our septic and with our washer. I'm not sure which it is. But anyway, so I go down, do laundry, and on the way back, I start realizing I am passing a clot, or I have passed a clot, or something's not right down below. Get home, and I was wearing pads the whole time because I was afraid to go without my pad at this point. So gets home, the doctor happened to call me, the doctor's office happened to call me to schedule my surgery, because at my gynecologist appointment on the 8th of October, they decided they were going to do what's called a DNC. I don't know the name of it. Maybe I'll put the name down in the description box so you guys know what that is. But they had another name for it too. They were going to do that and put a IUD, like a Mirena, up in me to help control the blood flow. Sorry. And so they get that scheduled for November 8th. And November 1st, I would do my blood work and labs, or my blood work and my urine test beforehand. Okay, great. Well, as time goes on, I'm starting to realize I don't want to go through this. If I'm going to have surgery, I'd rather just have the hysterectomy done. I just want to get this all taken care of. And so I call and tell them this. And so they call me back. Oh, in the meantime, I'm still bleeding, and I tell them that on the Thursday that I went and done laundry. I tell them I'm still bleeding. I actually started bleeding heavy again, and I said, and I'm having some cramping and stuff. And so they got me on another medication, and this was a strong medication. I had to take 3 times a day. I had to make sure that they stayed exactly the number of hours apart. There was no fudge room on that. They had to stay that far apart. And they had me on the maximum doses you could do, which was 5 days, 3 doses a day. So I took my pills, and it stopped the period completely. And in the meantime, somewhere, I think it was around the week after that, I called the doctor's office, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I just want to go through a hysterectomy, and all this. I have my reasoning. And so they got me an appointment with my gynecologist again, and I went in and seen her. And I told her my reasoning, and then she said, that's fine. But here's why I want to do this first. She says, I want to do this first because I want to check you for cancer. uterine cancer. And she goes, before we do anything else. And I said, well, I don't want to do the IUD for sure. I know I don't want to do that. And she goes, okay, we're good with that. She goes, we can do it without doing that. That's fine. Can I ask why? And I told her what I had been learning through reading the paperwork and what I had learned through watching YouTube videos about people who had had it done and stuff. And she says, okay. She goes, I get it. And she goes, we won't do it. I'm like, okay. So we go the next week. I have to go, or that was on Monday. No, or was it Monday or Tuesday? Monday. And then on Friday I had to go in and do my blood work. So I go down to my doctor's office to have the blood work. They couldn't get it on the first draw. I said, can I go over to the hospital to do this because they have better luck with my veins? She's like, yes, sure. So I did my urine test there at the doctor's office and went over to the hospital, and I had to do an EKG. They had ordered me an EKG because I had been having chest pain off and on lately. So I had to do an EKG, and then I did my blood work. And then I left from there and came home, ran errands and came home. Later that day, I get a phone call telling me there was trace amounts of blood in my urine. Or Monday it might have been, they told me that. I think it was Monday they called me and told me that. And I had seen it on my paperwork, so it had been Monday. I had seen it in my file online, and I'm like, okay, I wasn't too concerned. I thought I misread it. And they told me that could be natural with what I was going through, so they weren't worried about it. So I go in Friday, that following Friday, so this is the week after my blood work and that, and I have to do my surgery, and I go in and I do my urine test to make sure I'm not pregnant, and then they prep me, they put the IV in, they go through a whole list of questions, they get me all hooked up and everything and ready to go, and then they take me into the room, and I actually have to walk to the surgical room from my hospital room. I would wheel back, but I walk in, they get me on the bed, they get my butt in place, they get my legs in place, and then they get me all, knocked out as far as I needed to go. I had a great surgical staff. They were very understanding that I had anxiety. They were walking me through what I needed to do beforehand. They didn't tell me too much. They kept, and my doctor came in the room. I joked with her a little bit. She was great. I joked with the anesthesiologist. So I felt very good going in. When I come out of it, I was starting to already come to before they moved me from the room. And I was, I think, threatening to hug everybody in the room. I was starting to feel better already. So they put on what they call a party panty and a pad on me because there would be some bleeding afterward. And I get taken back to my room because I'm alert enough that I'm talking to them. So they take me back to my room, then bring my mom and my sister in because my sister was my driver and my mom was there for moral support. And so they get me some crackers and cheese and a glass of cranberry juice to drink before I can leave. And after I ate my crackers and cheese and I went to the bathroom and they were able to start getting me ready to release. They changed me from a hospital bed to a chair to sit up and finish off my paperwork, take my IV out and all that. And when I get to the bathroom, the panties were blood soaked and everything, so they had to give me fresh, and I had to have the nurse in with me because she wasn't originally going to be in there, but because I was such a mess, she had to come in and help me out. And so I get all ready and I go back to the room. And they sit me in the chair for a while, and then pretty soon they take care of getting me out of there. They discharge me. I go home. The next day, I get a phone call. That night I had an anxiety attack that led me to believe I might have blood clots coming on because it's one of the concerns, and I have had a blood clot in the past from another surgery. That's a story. If you guys want that story, feel free to let me know, and I will share the story of what happened that led to that. Because that'll probably have to be in parts. That's a big story. Anyway, so I called my doctor's office and everything and told them what happened. And they said, it doesn't sound like, I said, I'm probably panicking for nothing. And, very nice, the nurse I talked to that night. And I felt very good about, about my doctor's office at that point. I felt very good about him. But what made me feel even better about who I had for my doctor is our next afternoon I was sitting there and I've been talking. I was with my mom and my niece had come out. My sister went home. My niece came out. so that I would have somebody there for the weekend in case any problems arose, and we'd have somebody that could get me help. So we were visiting, watching movies and stuff, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and it says restricted, and I'm like, okay, should I answer it? Yeah, I'm going to answer it. I don't normally answer my phone for restricted calls too often, but something told me to call it, or to answer it, and it turned out to be my doctor herself calling me to tell me, or to check in on me and ask how I was doing, and I was able to tell her I'd had a bowel movement, which is one of the big concerns after surgery, is that you have a bowel movement, and that, the bleeding wasn't too bad, and I was able to go through all the stuff going on, and she felt very comfortable with it. And then she goes, okay, I'll see you at your appointment. My appointment was the following Friday, so a week after surgery. I go in on that Friday, and all week I've been worried about cancer because they told me that that's what they were checking me for. They wouldn't be able to tell me until my appointment. So the following Friday I go in. The nurse takes me back, does the check of temperature and all that. And I'm sitting in the room, and the doctor walks in, and I had arrived early. I went way early to downtown to just get my mind off it, and we had sat at our favorite store for quite a while, and Mom had a cup of tea, and I just sat there. And then we went over probably about 45 minutes early for my appointment, and they got me back real quick. And I'm like, okay, in my head, I'm like, oh God, this is not good news. They're taking me right back. But when my doctor comes in, she shuts the door and she goes, I'm going to start off with this. It was benign. You do not have cancer. So I do not have cancer. That's great news. But I did ask her if we could check my iron level. So we checked my iron level the following Monday, this past Monday, and my iron level is very low. I will be starting iron infusions again here soon. So there's still that. And I will be taking a pill 10 days out of the month. So when I either start my period again or 16 days after my after the day of my last appointment, I think it was. No, surgery. I think she went from the day of surgery. No, it was the day of my appointment. She counted 16 days out. I will take my pill. And I will take that for 10 days. And then I should expect my period within a week of that. If not, I have to call the doctor. Otherwise, once I start my period, I count 16 days from that first full bleed day, and I will take the 10 days of pills again, and then it will be, after my first day of my period, I will have 16 days to count every time. So I'll be doing that for a while. So yeah, I'm not got cancer, but I do have low iron, so that is affecting how I'm videoing and stuff, because I get drained out easy. I do dishes sitting down because I don't have any energy. I am trying to get cleaning the house done, but I can work for maybe 5 minutes at a time before I'm drained. I go and do laundry because we have to go to the laundromat. I get that done, but then I come home and I take a shower and then sit down on the couch, eat lunch, and then crash. So I am really, really wore down. And yeah, that's what's been going on with my health. And I hope this helps. If you're going through it, I hope it helps you feel like you're not alone. Because I know when I first started dealing with this, I felt very alone until people started stepping up and saying, hey, I've dealt with something like this, or this is what happened. Even though I had seen what my mom went through and my sister went through, and my aunt and everything, it was hard for me. So that's what's been going on with my health, and I hope this was informative. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. Done. I am doing better. I do feel better. I am still not out of the woods with how my health is right now, but I am slowly recovering, and I have a lot to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. We go tomorrow to find out if my mom's cancer is in remission. We think it is, from what we understood of our mammogram. So that's good news. She had breast cancer last year that we had to go through radiation for her. Well, she had to go through. I was her driver for all that, so that's why I said we. And then she had surgery last year. So a lot has been going on with us. And so we appreciate all the kind words, the good thoughts, the encouragement, the prayers, and all that. We appreciate all of it. Completely appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful day with lots of beautiful, amazing things happening to you, because you're all beautiful and amazing, and I will catch you next time. Bye, guys.